Hello everyone. I hope that you're all fine, okay, and happy to be on holidays, perhaps, or at least happy to be in summertime. Although it's pretty hot around the world at the moment, especially in the northern hemisphere, of course. It's much cooler in the southern one. So today I'm going to talk to you about the new moon, which is going to occur on the 24th of July at 1911, that is 7:11 p.m. Universal time, that is, of course. So according to your location, you'll have to work out when this event is going to occur. The new moon is usually linked to the idea of a new cycle. This one is going to start in Leo. You see the moon and the sun are here conjunct in Leo. So that has a meaning, of course, due to the fact that Leo is the sign that is represented by the sun. So the sun is at its strongest during the period when it transits in Leo, and that is going to last for about a month. 30 degrees, 30 days. And that will begin on the 22nd, I think, of July, although it will be different according, once again, to your location. And it will last until approximately the 22nd of, or 23rd of August, sorry. And that is the hottest period of the year, actually. So it's natural to understand, it's naturally easy to understand that the sun rules this period. So crossing the sign, Leo, is important because it is a time when we are organizing things that will begin eventually or will concretize when the moon transits in Virgo after the transit in Leo. And Virgo is linked to the sixth house. It is the sixth sign of the zodiac. So it's natural to somehow link this sign to what house 6 represents, which is work and health. So when the sun begins its transit in Virgo, after that period during which it will be in Leo, the beginning of a new type of energy will be felt. So the period during which the sun is in Leo is a good period to assess and address various situations and projects as well, which may become realizable concretely when the sun transits in Virgo. And in this manner of thinking about the transits, we can get prepared for what is coming next. So naturally, in the northern hemisphere of the Earth, of course, more likely, school and work will begin again after the holidays, after the summer holidays. And that is something that needs to be prepared. The better prepared you are, the better you will, achieve. Now, this new moon in Leo creates an opposition with Pluto, which is here. And Pluto represents regeneration, right? Destruction in view of reconstruction on new grounds. So something must end, because the moon opposite Pluto triggers the energy of Pluto, which is, once again, the energy of destruction in view of reconstruction. So Pluto would rather symbolize the end of cycles rather than the beginning. It's death, while the sun is life. And they're both in opposition. So somehow they're linked, and naturally, everyone alive today will eventually die. So will eventually end. But it's not an end in itself. It's an end that precedes a new beginning. So this new moon is interesting in that regard, because at the same time, it is a period when we should, start something new, but also end something that is not that new, something that has become obsolete. So we don't need that anymore. But we may be attached to whatever that is, or whoever that may be. Now, we'll have a choice to make, naturally, and the sun represents our willpower, our free will. It does represent what we want to achieve and what we are able to achieve, thanks to our positive energy as well, physical and psychological. Now you see that the sun and the moon in Leo are creating what we call a trine with those two here, Saturn and Neptune. They're in Aries, very early in Aries. So this trine here, which is a very beneficial type of configuration, indicates that we may very well be able to shed light, sun, on what is not so obvious, to make it come true, to make it become something concrete. This conjunction, Saturn-Neptune, somehow is linked to the idea that there are two universes working together, parallel, the invisible one and the visible one. And the invisible one is, for example, an inspiration, an ideal, an intuition. Anything that is not visible may have a chance to become visible if one is prepared to do what needs to be done for it to become visible. A project is, first of all, something that you think about. And then you do what needs to be done to make it concrete. So Saturn represents that. And the fact that both are conjunct indicates that there is a potential to bring them together. And the sun will give us that extra bit of energy to make it happen. To make it happen, we will need to act. But we will also need, first of all, to think, to analyze, to discuss, to communicate, to share what we think, what we want, what is our project, what is, our intuition, our inspiration, or whatever, and then make it real. That will be, more or less, the mission during this period. And that mission needs to be really taken advantage of, because we have here on top of that Uranus, which is linked favorably to this conjunction Sun-Moon and to this conjunction Saturn-Neptune. So Uranus represents the originality of our ideal, inspiration, project. We must not be afraid of being original, different from other people, other projects. There is room for everyone on this planet, still, and everyone has a right to obtain the best results. But those best results will, of course, depend on how quick One is to take advantage of an opportunity, and how much you are prepared to act, to work, to make the effort to obtain the best result possible, even though there will be, most probably, a very interesting opportunity on that particular day, 24th of July. It doesn't mean that you are going to take advantage of it. So being prepared for it may be very helpful, because you will stick out your antennas to really perceive what is going on around you. And if you have a project, if you are in this logic of wanting to change your life, to make it better, of course, the 24th of July, and then the month after that, during which the sun will be in Leo, it will still be in harmony with Uranus in Gemini, with Saturn and Neptune in Aries, and it will still be more or less opposite Pluto, which is in Aquarius, right across. So that first day of the new moon is a very important one indeed. You see, the moon here is at 2 degrees and 8 minutes, so 2 degrees is 4 hours for the moon to progress from the beginning of the sign. So 4 hours before, which is 15:11, so 3:11 in the afternoon universal time, the moon begins its transit in Leo. And then that's going to last for 2.5 days. But before it ends, the moon will reach Mercury. And that is what we are going to have a look now. So, yeah, Mercury is here in Leo. Yeah. Mercury, unfortunately, perhaps we can say that, is retrograde. So it is believed to be not as efficient. And because Mercury represents our neurons, our brain, we may not be as efficient using this one here to deal with whatever needs to be dealt with. And you see that Mercury is in discordance with this conjunction. Black Moon, Vesta. Black Moon, dark zone. Vesta, harmony, balance. It may be that we will find ourselves in a situation that is quite uncertain. It may worry us, maybe too much for our own good. And if we have to think and analyze and organize the project, that new beginning represented by the new moon and the configuration that I mentioned earlier on, we may not be very efficient. So mistakes can be made, if we're not careful, if we're afraid also of this dark zone, if we want to keep it for ourselves, because we know what it is, but we are not really proud of it. We could even be ashamed somehow. There is something weird about the black moon. It's an attraction, but it's also a repulsion. So you may be attracted by something and somehow repulsed from this thing, whatever it is. Could be a feeling, could be anything. Anything, it depends on your chart, it depends on your life, naturally. But it will contribute to destabilize you. And that harmony represented by Vesta will be compromised if you don't make the necessary effort to recognize what the dark zone is and deal with it honestly, spontaneously. In that regard, you will be helped by the sun. Why? Because the sun is in Leo, and Leo is the sun sign, because Mercury is in Leo, and Mercury depends on the sun, because the sun represents this sign. So, because the sun is in harmony with Saturn and Neptune, in harmony as well with Uranus, that will give you a chance to shed light on that dark zone. It may be something that you ignore, but it's most probably something that you fear. But it's not fear as such. Well, it's something quite ambiguous in any case. Ambiguity can, sort of deter your ability and your will to obtain the best results. Maybe because you're not going to feel that you deserve such result, such success. Anyway, that's the only configuration that involves Mercury. So the next one will naturally have to do with the position of Mars and the south lunar node. So that will be the next configuration that I'll analyze. There is one here that will occur then on the 28th of July at around 11 in the morning. That is, of course, universal time. Now you see, the south node represents that we should recognize as being obsolete. We don't need that anymore. It's something that we don't need anymore. Something that we should, throw away, forget about, run away from, perhaps. Run away from, but not just running away from. It's running to reach the north lunar node, which is right across here. So this lunar node represents the goal to reach. If you have a goal, of course, it is represented by the north lunar node. But the condition for that north lunar node, for that goal to be reached, is described by what the south lunar node represents. And it represents what I've just said, that from which you should detach yourself. To make your existential vehicle lighter. And your existential vehicle is nothing more than your life, which is the main thing, really. So the moon is going to trigger the energy of the south node, and it is going to trigger a bit later on in the day the energy of Mars. Mars represents action. So there will be a decision to make on that day, the 28th of July. If you don't make it, you will most probably deter your potential to reach your goal and or to find a solution to a problem. Mars is in discordance with Venus, which is here. Venus is in Gemini. So the discordance is going to make it perhaps a little bit more difficult to decide, to let go of, to forget about, to run away from, because there is a kind of sentimental attachment to that south lunar node or whatever it represents. And love can have a detrimental effect on our lucidity. We are not really objective when we're in love, or when we do things out of love, we may do the wrong thing just because we don't see the situation or the person as that situation or person is really. That is something that you need to just keep in mind. It could create love at first sight. And love at first sight is very exciting, very intense, but it can burn very quickly. And it can lead to pain. Love hurts. That's what the song says. And it's true that it can. And because we see here also that Chiron forms an inconjunct with Mars and the South Lunar Node, we'll need to be aware of the fact that during this period, the summertime in the Northern Hemisphere, we should look after our health, exercise, but not too much, and, well, take advantage of the sunshine, but not too much. You know, being reasonable. Reasonable will help you deal with any potential health issue that could stem from, well, an attitude that would be wrong. And when I say health, of course, it's health as such, as usual, or health in some area of your life. The fact is that the inconjunct represents a tendency to postpone. So if there is something to do, a decision to make that concerns your health or health in some area of your life, do it. Don't wait. Anyway, that is, once again, the role of your free will to decide whether you are going to go ahead with making the decision or not. The next transit of the moon is when it reaches the early degrees in Libra. And when it does, it will create an opposition with Saturn and Neptune. So what I've said about the invisible world and the visible one coming together to allow you to concretize an idea, a project, an intuition, an inspiration, whatever. That may become very strong on that particular day, which is the 29th of July, and the opposition will occur at about 9 in the morning. And you see the moon is in harmony with Pluto here. And it's also in harmony with Uranus, which is here. So, once again, the notion of change, regeneration, they're going to be much stronger. And they're going to give you the opportunity to make your dream come true. That's all there is to it. I mean, Neptune represents dreams. It represents the invisible world because the dream is invisible. It's only visible to you while you dream. But it's nothing concrete, solid-like, earth-like. Saturn represents that part of it. So you dream of something very nice and you wake up to realize it, to make it come true. The visible and the invisible come together. They must actually come together. It's the reason why your life will be balanced and in harmony with your higher self. So on that day, 29th of July, once again, at around 9 in the morning, you may realize, well, concretely, but yet still perhaps in your mind, that you're on the right track. And the objective, the goal, the realization, concretely, may actually come when the moon reaches Saturn and Neptune, which will be about 2 weeks later. So it's not that far, to wait. It will happen quite quickly. So don't be afraid to be original, different, imaginative, because that will pay off for sure. And don't be afraid to sacrifice what needs to be sacrificed to obtain the best results. There's always a price to pay. If you're not prepared to pay that price, well, you're not going to succeed. But during this period, believe me, the potential will be great. And it will be regretful if you don't take advantage of it. The next transit of the moon in Libra will be when it reaches the opposition with Chiron. Here it is. Oh, it's not yet exactly Chiron. You see, this book is on astro travel, assisted by astrology. It's recently been translated into English and augmented as well. I have written more than the French edition in this book, more explanations and so on. If you're interested in astro travel, or if you don't know what it is and want to discover what it is and what it can do for you, then read this book. It's now available on the Amazon website in your country. So don't hesitate if you're interested in it, or if you want to discover a lot of my private and personal experiences. So let's continue with the reading of this chart of the new moon. The moon reaches the opposition with Chiron, and that will occur when it reaches 27 degrees in Libra, and that will be on the 31st of July at 12, midday, universal time, of course, once again. Chiron, health, once again. Every time I speak about Chiron, I have to mention that it has something to do with health. But it's also the doctor in you. So we all have a certain amount of knowledge about medicine, and we are all more or less able to deal with various issues when they're not too serious, of course. And on that day, the moon triggering the energy of Chiron will trigger the sense of being your own inner doctor, deciding or not what has to be done to keep you in good shape, or to keep one or other area of your life in which a health issue could actually develop. Now, on that day and about that time, you may be able to assess exactly what is going on and to address the situation. But there is an inconjunct with Mars. So Mars is here. The South Lunar Node is next to it, actually, and we talked about it earlier on. Chiron is here, and the moon is here. So there is an opposition here, and there is an inconjunct here. Mars represents what you can do about it, the decision that you're able to make. But because it is an inconjunct, you may postpone, procrastinate. You know there is something that is likely to be wrong, but well, we'll see about it tomorrow, or maybe next week, whatever. Don't do that. It will be very important, on the contrary, to act or react according to what you feel, what you recognize as being a possible issue, health-wise or otherwise. Because that will make the difference. Because Mars is eventually going to create an opposition with Chiron, and that may take about 6 weeks. So, it's a bit of time, but it's enough time to organize what will need to be organized to deal with that issue, treat it, and forget about it, Because after that, the moon is going to reach the positions of Vesta and Lilith, or the Black Moon. Let's have a look. See? Here it is. So that's going to happen at about 13, 14 degrees in Scorpio. And, of course, there is a discordance here, which we call a square. It's a 90-degree angle, or about 90 degree, with the Sun and Mercury, which is still retrograde. And there is a trine, lucky trine, with Jupiter. So, the Black Moon, the dark zone, Vesta, harmony, balance, well-being, all that is compromised by what? By the Sun and Mercury. Your action or your attitude and your state of mind. So maybe your attitude and your state of mind is wrong. If it's the case, change it. If your position is wrong, you may have a wrong look at your own life, and you cannot appreciate it because you refuse, or you don't know, or don't think about changing your point of view. So it means that you should share, communicate. But because Mercury is in discordance with the Black Moon and Vesta, the manner in which you're going to communicate is probably going to be so-so, not the best. Because there is something that you know or don't want to know. It's you know, but don't want to know. That's the Black Moon for you. It's hiding something. Are you hiding something from yourself or from other people? It's possible. It may be something you're not proud of, something you're ashamed of, even. Whatever it is, on that day, the 1st of August, at about 9 p.m., when this configuration forms, don't say anything just to say something. Mercury will be very much influenced by your ego, represented by the Sun, and by your emotions as well. So you may feel very awkward. So if you do, don't communicate about it. Keep things for yourself for a while until the configurations become better. They will, eventually. For example, when the Sun transits in Virgo, and when Mercury transits in Virgo, once Mercury is not retrograde anymore, because while it is retrograde, it even more impacts your ability to think, analyze, organize, and so on. So luckily, Jupiter is around to protect you, to protect your interests, and to make perhaps this dark zone not as troublesome as it would be if Jupiter was not around to help you see things in a brighter light. Jupiter is transiting the moon sign, and here it is in harmony with the moon. So the configuration is even stronger. And it means that there could be an opportunity to actually take advantage of on that particular day and time to kind of go around what the black moon represents and perhaps take advantage of it rather than feel that you could become a victim of it. That is, once again, a question of personal decision and will. So free will is going to, once more, make the difference. It's for you to decide in the end. Now, the next transit of the moon is this one. It's when it reaches the first degree in Sagittarius, because that will create an opposition with Uranus. Uranus is here in Gemini. The moon is right across. And there is a nice aspect here with Pluto. Here we have what we call a sextile, an angle of 60 degrees or so. Here we have a trine, which is 120 degrees or so. Here we have another sextile with Pluto and Uranus, and we have a trine here with the moon, and we have also with the Sun and Mercury another trine with the moon, which is going to form and become stronger as the moon transits through Sagittarius. That's the 3rd of August. And the configuration occurs at around 7 in the morning. And it's going to perdure, to stay quite strong for the whole day. And then the following day as well, it will still be quite strong. Now, the moon triggers the energy of Uranus. What is it that you want to change? Well, once again, I'm asking this question. What is it that needs to be changed? And that, if it is changed, will make a lot of difference, positive one, in your life. Regeneration, Pluto. Transformation, deep transformation, represented by Pluto. And realization, the invisible becomes visible, thanks to Saturn and Neptune. And there is also Mercury and the Sun. Although Mercury is still retrograde, the link, which is positive with the moon, which is positive with Saturn and Neptune, is likely to be felt as an incentive to express and to share your opinion, your state of mind, and your ability to make things come true. You will be on the way to reach that goal represented by here, the North Lunar Node, as I mentioned earlier on, but also when, of course, the moon reaches Saturn and Neptune, which will occur, 1, 2, 3, 4 signs, 2.5 days per sign is 10 days. So here we're the 3rd of August, and here would be around the 13th of August. Realization of a dream, which will become even more important when the moon reaches Pluto. It's something I'll talk to you about in a minute. So the next transit of the moon is when it reaches the opposition with Jupiter and Venus, and it is transiting, of course, here in Capricorn. So that will be on the, the 6th of August. And it is 7 in the morning once again, universal time. But that's going to have an influence right through the day, I'm pretty sure. So it's triggering the energy of Jupiter and Venus. Well, that could be a moment to choose, to take advantage of a very, very nice opportunity to make things better for yourself. Love, Venus. Creativity as well. Creation or procreation. And the moon, linked to Venus and Jupiter, will definitely enhance greatly that potential, that creative potential that you can use in any way you want. Luck is also represented by this type of configuration. So on that day, the 6th of August, at about 7 in the morning, but later on in the day it will still be quite strong, try your luck, believe in it. To me, luck belongs to those who believe in it. First, you have to believe. That's the invisible part. Then you have to act to make your belief come true, become visible. So this is a moment to choose to do so. But Saturn and Neptune in Aries here, first degree in Aries, are still against somehow the potential here represented by this conjunction Venus-Jupiter. It's like father and son. The son says, yes, we're going to go, and the father says, no, you're not going to go. Or you're going to do it or not, you're not going to do it. This is good for me, no, this is not good for you. Difficult relationship at times, with our own fathers. So think of this as being a warning. You may have to listen to the voice of wisdom. I'm not saying that your father has that voice, but, symbolically. But listen also to the voice of your inner self. Your soul is represented by Neptune. And if your soul says no, it may be much more important to follow what that soul says than what your father says, or that father figure. So on that day, yes, there will be a strong potential and a strong desire as well, most probably. But, take it easy. Don't rush to whatever you want to achieve or obtain, because that resembles also desire. And love may be mistaken. Desire may make you feel that you love something or someone, but it may not be so. Remember that. That may avoid making a mistake that you could regret. But in any case, it's not something, hopefully anyway, that will cause a dramatic situation. It's just uneasy. Because Jupiter does represent our positive side. Sometimes we're very optimistic, enthusiastic, very positive. Let's go, do it. But Saturn represents the contrary. So we may be oscillating between the two. And what we want to achieve may not be achievable yet. We may have to wait for another 5, 6, 7 days, maybe more. At least, maybe we'll have to wait until the moon reaches Saturn and Neptune here. That will make the difference. Because those two here do represent the potential to make the invisible become visible. But after that, the moon reaches the position of Pluto. And it creates an opposition with Mercury, which is still retrograde. So perhaps this opposition is saying, well, now that you have assessed the mistakes that you've made, or the wrong sort of type of communication that you had, maybe it's time now to change your attitude, and to change the course of your thoughts and opinions, to make them more positive and constructive rather than the contrary. Because very often when you see an opposition between Mercury and Pluto in a chart, you're in presence of someone who may have very dark thoughts at times, very nihilistic approach to life. And if you do that on that day, which is the 8th of August, and the opposition or the conjunction with Pluto is going to occur at 5 in the morning, but it will have an influence right through the day, I would say, you will not take advantage of the energy of Mars and of that of Uranus and that of Saturn and Neptune, because they are all in harmony with Pluto. This one is this one, Mars is this one, is as well, and of course this one. So what I said about this configuration, which is extremely positive, will come true and will deliver if you believe in it, and if your mental attitude represented by Mercury is positive. So it's likely to be, because here Mercury, we see, is in harmony with Saturn and Neptune and in harmony with Uranus. So that will make our intellect much more able to adapt and to find solutions to problems, very unexpected solutions. It may make us intellectually extremely fast, extremely inventive, extremely constructive and positive. So we may realize something very, very important. And on that day, perhaps also we'll hear or discover that someone has invented a new device, a new way of communicating. It may have something to do with the internet and IT technologies, or artificial intelligence as well, which is going to play an extremely important role during the next 20 years until the end of the transit of Pluto in Aquarius. Yeah, that's interesting. But it is opening the way for the next configuration, which is simply the full moon. And that full moon is going to occur on the 9th of August. There we are. And there we are. Opposition Sun Moon, full moon. The moon will be in Aquarius and the sun right across in Leo. And this is the chart that I will analyze for you in my next video, which will be posted on YouTube, most probably around the time of the new moon. It's my habit of putting those videos earlier so that you have ample time to take note of whatever is important for you. Now, I want to thank you very much for watching this video and for your interest in my work. Thank you. And I wish you a very pleasant and beautiful summer in the Northern Hemisphere and a not so freezing winter in the Southern one. Bye for now.